Go. Welcome to Wise Up on Air, hands on with Strata. I'm joined here by Chase Steele. How's it going, Chase?
Hey, good. How's it going there?
Oh, so good. Feels like spring,
That
seasons
that is good.
changing. But let's shift the mood because today we're
Yeah.
talking about gore.
Yeah, it's a totally different mood, right?
Yeah, both the birth of life in the world and its decomposition, the Gore collection from Strata. It's going to be a wild one.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in here for sure.
Yeah,
You know, I've a lot of us, myself included, we've seen our share of there's a lot of Gore sound libraries out there
yeah.
for certain. Um, and I was really excited when I got into this one and started taking a look around. It's just really well rounded. Um, a lot of really interesting usability features that make it stand out in a sometimes a category that can be a lot of the same. So there's great stuff in here.
Cool. Can't wait to dig into it. And as usual in these hands on series, what we're going to do is go into the Reaper project, dig around, listen to some different stuff. And then we're going to bring that through Wise to Unreal as part of the demo that you've been crafting.
Yeah.
And then we'll circle back at the end to talk about how to get your hands on Strata. So let's go.
Yeah. Let's get into the gore.
Awesome. Bring it on.
Oh,
So
so sorry, what were we gonna say?
we're looking at your Reaper project,
Oh, good,
and
good.
that's a lot of markers in there. What do those mean?
Each one of those markers is the start and end of a sound in here. So there's a lot in here. We have a lot of shorter sort of transient type of assets in here, so definitely stands out a bit more. Um, but these are all good. These are helpful. These are how we enable you to render out the sounds easily and make it easy to search through. So you don't have to scroll through the project window a whole bunch if you don't want to. Sometimes it's fun to do. You can discover new things that way, but uh, yes. So the lots of markers.
And we're looking
And
at the top level project right now,
yeah,
which includes all of the sub projects.
right. So the top or we have the two folder, they're color coordinated. So the top one is always the sub project that you can go in and then you have, you get your hands a little bit more onto the sounds and change some things and tweak some things. But everything that was mixed by the sound designers, the way it was, um, I guess optimized for just general use. These are all rendered underneath on these bottom tracks. So that stuff is all good and you can grab it quickly if you need to.
Yeah, and so
Uh,
those are those designed assets that are just ready to pluck and put into your project as is.
right, right. And the cool thing also, even if you're working from inside one of those projects, I actually finally just got around because I didn't have an up-to-date sound miner license, but
Yeah.
we have that integration that you can basically any sound that you render out of a Strata project, you can open it right back up to the multi-track uh, window where you were doing whatever it was and continue working on it. So there's a lot of cool benefits with the way we set things up in here to make things easy. Although sometimes it can look a little overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. More choices, more
Yeah,
options, more customization. It's great.
yeah. One little thing, I've probably mentioned this before, but it's just an offhand thing. If you're going to go and download the sample collections, which we have two of, which are really great. One of the things is this marker manager. It's it's a must in terms of navigation, but my favorite little just small tip is in the top here, you can type in RPP and that'll filter out all the sounds so you can actually navigate to the projects pretty quickly as well and
Cool.
kind of see what it all is other than, this is a lengthy list, a lot of similar asset names. So, with that, let's see what are we going to first here? So let's go over what there is, I guess.
Yep.
We have Gore body internal. We have extreme, firearms and archery, and then generic, melee, and then weapons. So there's some interesting distinctions between some of these. Um, Generic, well, I'll probably go into that. Maybe I'll go into that first. But generic has a lot of little bits and pieces, so that as you're working your way through the other projects that are in here, you can find some things in there that may be great on their own, but also you could pull from that to start augmenting the rest of the collections as well. So let's see, Gore, generic.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing when you're saying that is just, creating those rhythmic combinations of these different elements to give your sound design a unique kind of twist, right? Or when
Yeah,
you are creating a lot of variations, which, a lot of these impact type or other um, gore moments really require a lot of variations because with those rhythmic elements or with those very distinct sound characteristics, you don't want to hear those too frequently. You want to have enough variation to be able to, imagine that it's happening differently each time as it would in real life. No, as it would in your imagination of these moments.
exactly. Now, this is actually this project opening this up. This one we have a lot of layers for each of the folder tracks, which is you don't always see it look like this, but this is a good time that I can mention we have we actually have a Reaper script, the Strata copy script. So uh, that's something you can optionally use to, let's say you're going through here and you see a handful, maybe these first several assets, you want to copy those to another project. And maybe that's the project you're actually, doing your design work in. So it'll kind of grab the stuff and kind of leave behind some of the empty tracks from what you've selected. And so we've thought about some of these things a little bit. So it's just worth pointing out here because there's so many of these little empty layers depending on which asset you're keyed in on. So let's look here. We have again, these are generic, so there's just lots of things that are going to be like breaks. So we have small, medium, and large of these breaking sounds,
Yeah.
which I'll try to zoom in on some of this as much as I can, but spread out quite a bit. Uh, I like to, for some, especially this collection, you can really look at, the name of the actual individual media items and see what the prop was or what the source is, which is that's one of my favorite things to do often is, when it comes to customizing Strata for yourself, you can then look here and then you can probably come up with some your own ideas if you need to record more, and it kind of takes the pressure off thinking up what am I gonna, how am I gonna add to this. But anyway,
Yeah.
here is some of the breaking sounds. So break small. That come through over there?
Yeah.
All right.
Gushy.
Medium. Definitely feels like a medium.
Yeah.
Large. Now this is interesting. Let's see what's going on here. Uh I can't really determine what this is from the name, but rinse rag. I
Sure.
was that makes more sense. It looked like bag at first to my eye. Uh, then we have some cloth impacts. So maybe we just go through and listen to some of these. It's sort of like a low end impact layer. There's this one augmenting the transient a little bit. It's actually a horseshoe. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Grapefruit squeezes. Yeah, that makes sense. Celery. You literally can't have a Gore library without celery.
Classic.
I don't think. It sounds like maybe pitch down or something though. But so yeah, you have your breaks, small, medium, large, and then you kind of get into some more gruesome stuff. You got shatter, small, medium, and then
Oh yeah.
large also.
I didn't realize how this was going to be the anti ASMR live stream.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, maybe somebody out there it's not, but yeah, generally probably yeah. Um, Now the other thing that's really cool, and this was surprising to me, I mean, I didn't really kind of expect it, but it's you don't have I don't feel like I have a lot of this in my library, so it was kind of exciting. We have actually some like searing and some acid burn kind of stuff that sounds really nice and fleshy, which is kind of something I don't think we have in any of their collections. I mean, we have the ambience fire, and there's some cool stuff in there, but this kind of, you know, this adds on to that even more. And I found myself using a lot of that stuff together. So we have some distinct categories. We have the sear. Which looks like there's a processed frying pan or something. That, that makes
Cool.
sense. Campfire in there. And then the large one.
Yeah.
And then these are pretty cool, the cauterized sounds, which I actually end up using some of these. We'll see later. Large. This one is one of my favorite ones in here, the cauterized large sound. Really crackly and sizzly.
Yeah. Equally applicable for your cooking game.
Sure. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
It's not all Halloween every day in this collection.
No, yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. Acid, which let's see what actually there's some recordings from a hydrophone in here, which is kind of cool. This. And
Oh
then
yeah,
of
that's
course you have
fun.
large for that as well. And what else? We got to top it off, gut dig, which really does sound like that.
Yeah, and I'm even hearing creature movement in that. That could be a
Yeah.
really interesting loop for creature crawling or moving around.
There's I'll point out this one layer because you have to liquid chicken sauce. So I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but uh let's see what else. So I think that's generally all the kind of the categories. Each one has variations, and then each one has the individual layers broken out so you can blend them and mix them however you'd want. I don't think we have too much going on in this one as far as the macros or any kind of crazy stuff to play around with. There's definitely some. Oh, that's just a limiter. What else is actually going on here, if anything? Yeah, there's
So digging
some
around
processing.
for processing using the Enrage plugin that comes as part of Strata. Uh,
Yeah,
what's this? What's this doing?
let's see. I gotta make sure I'm actually on the right one here. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, one thing you have to do is check out the Enrage plugins because sometimes there are actually, like you can see here, there's some interesting macros that are set up within it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can change the attack.
Ooh, yeah.
So this is all stuff that's been carefully mapped out. I mean, look at this rack over here that they've set up. This
Yeah.
is, I could spend a day just probably going through this, but it's all done really well, um, so that you don't necessarily have to get yourself overwhelmed. You can just stick to the right-hand side and really alter these things pretty quickly for what it's worth.
Yep.
Now we do have, in some of the other ones I'll go over to, we have some actual macros MIDI control that are mapped in the as a separate track under the composites. But that's something you gotta spend some time to make sure you're not missing out, because sometimes they put some neat stuff in here.
Yeah. And that Enrage plugin is just a suite of DSP that the designers of the collections are applying and putting those knobs in front of you to be able to make decisions about it creatively.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, you have the Enrage. There'll be a time to talk about that coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
So that's well worth it.
Yeah. Stay tuned for a special announcement about an upcoming live stream talking about Enrage.
There's a there's so much. It's like the one thing I never get to go into as much as I'd like to when I'm kind of doing some overviews and the highlights, but you can play around with it just as much as you can play around with the sounds and the mix and all that itself. So,
Yeah.
so backing out here I'm back in the main project window now.
Great.
Let's see. What should we trying to think what's I'll go into something that's got some cool macros. We'll go into the body internal project.
Okay.
There's some good stuff in here. So this is kind of, what you would imagine. There's two primary type of things going on. We have heartbeats and then we have bloodstream, right? These are really cool. I use them quite a bit in the little demo that we'll go over to in a bit here, to kind of flesh out some ambient sounds of the environment. So, um, not just for the action in the whatever it is you're doing with the gore normally, but you can use it to build out some ambience as well, which is nice that they didn't just throw some heartbeat sounds and some blood loops or whatever. This is actually like a whole system that you can really get into and create something unique. So each one, I think, yeah, they all three have, or they both of them have soft, medium, and hard variants. So here's your heartbeat: soft, medium, and then hard there. So beyond that, we also have, okay, this one has one macro controller that let's, well, I'll open up the routing in a minute, but you can use this to essentially change the perspective from interior to exterior. So right now, I think it's set all the way to interior. And then as I move it, exterior.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that could be the semantics of that might be a little bit confusing, but it's exterior as in you're hearing it as like you're hearing someone else, right?
Right.
Not the other way around. But
Right. There's the idea that as the player, if you're hearing your heartbeat, the assumption is you're hearing it from inside of your own body. And that on the other side of your ears, there's what you hear
yeah,
from another person. Right.
correct.
Great.
Uh,
And that kind of control parameter, that macro, is the kind of thing that you could do interactively
yeah, you could
in a
do
game.
something like that.
Yep.
Even I don't
Driven
know how
by.
effective that was, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So just doodling some lines that you're already doing something.
Totally. Totally. Uh, and yeah, from there you can you could choose how to render those out and dynamically control those on the game side of things.
Yep. And I just opened up, here's the actual routing from the effects, that the track that has the MIDI, I forget the name of it. It's a MIDI control plugin that's in Reaper, but that's kind of what's being used here to accommodate this. And you can see, look at all these, look at how many different places
Yeah.
this is routed to. It's all over the place. So if I could go to track 4, which actually there's nothing on here on that, but this one,
Yeah.
synth hard, open that up. Here you can see they'll always, the naming conventions always line up. So you have on the macros side of Enrage over here. I don't know if, let me see if this works. Does this work if I zoom in like that? You
No.
seeing that?
Nope.
Yeah, sometimes that doesn't pass through,
Got it.
but um, so yeah, interior and exterior right here. That's actually, if I move the obviously I
Yep.
drew in some automation so you
Yep.
can see it
So
following
we
that.
see it moving. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can check to see what all that is actually routed to. Looks like there's a high cut filter in here.
Sure.
So as that moves, that's primarily what's going on with this layer. But as we go down to some of the other things, it could be anything could be happening. This one's got a gain modulation thing going on. Plunger. Let's see what, actually I just want to hear that by itself. Turn it up. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well, and I
Yeah.
love the level of detail that the designers have gone to, not only in the content selection, the simple level balancing of the mix, but then also all the way down to these control parameters that give you that ability to modulate a lot of things with one simple control. I think that's one of the strengths of having someone curating these collections to such a level of detail, is that they present you with what you need to be creative immediately.
Yeah, and I mean obviously there's like a formula to how they're doing it, but I like how it's there and it exists in a way, but it's not so intrusive, you know?
Yeah,
It's it's something that's there and you can easily kind of try it out, but if you don't want to play with it, then you don't have to do that either.
yeah.
So let's see.
Well, and
We go to,
a lot to learn from just peeking under the hood with this. So thanks for taking us through it.
yeah. And of course that's one of the benefits I always am, touting about Strata is what better, there's really no better way to learn some of this stuff, especially if you have to trek into some uncharted territory with what you're designing. This is like gold. So
Yeah. And with our new education license, the yearly subscription on that for folks, $100 for students and academic labs for a year, that includes all of the collections of Strata. Like, that's an incredible resource for learning the fundamentals of sound design.
couldn't have said it better. Um, okay, so Bloodstream. Let's check that out. This is
I'm ready.
pretty cool. This one has not one, but two macros.
Okay.
Okay. This is a rare. We don't always get the two macros. So this has a thin versus or thin to thick. So I think it was set all the way thick to start with. So okay, see some filtering going on. And then also we have the intensity here. So least amount. Then there, as I increase that, a lot more
Okay.
low frequency rumble. So really quick, you could set up a couple of different perspectives for, all of the different variations you have here. You can, again, I use some of it to build out a little bit of an ambient bed in the space. But yeah, it's again a nice thing we do with some of these looping assets, just makes them a lot more customizable quickly. So
Yeah. Cool. It's great to have some folks in the chat. Good to see you, and thanks for the kind words. Great to have you here. Let us know if there's anything you need us to dig deeper into as we feel our way through these projects. Chase, what I was hearing in that last looping sample was, the ability to extend that outside of the gushy, squishy Gore type of application into just something like lava,
yeah,
or an abstracted representation of something ambient happening. I'm imagining like the sound behind the walls in a cave at a certain section of a map as you're moving through. I think
yeah.
the sounds in this transcend the the Gore title, and you can really get creative with the control properties to extend it into something interesting.
Yeah, and to your point, this the main or basic layer here is actually looks like just some processed mud. So,
Yeah,
just mute some of the other layers and then that's really pretty close to lava right there.
yeah, yeah. It's great.
Then what's we have? We have this looks interesting. Metal bar submersion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned a
Bubbles.
hydrophone earlier, and this idea of a microphone that is submersed in liquid or in water and then captures things across the full frequency spectrum. I think, yeah, it's maybe a tool that not all of us have in our tool bag, and to have content that was captured like that.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's all the recordings are obviously it's even in that of itself is, it's gold, it's a gold mine.
Yeah,
Uh this is actually a really cool layer, this bubbling layer. I like it. It sounds like like the water cooler. Someone's like changing it out or something.
it's
uh
great.
and then there's that low end, which I imagine is getting moved quite a bit when we change. Yeah, you can really hear how that layer is impacted by these.
Yeah, and
So
it's like earthquake
yeah.
tremors. It's ice cracking when you're stepping on it. It's like just in this one sound, we've got each of these layers infinitely applicable in different scenarios. Just great sounds.
Yeah. What's this last one? It's a digital organic click. Okay, yeah, so it's kind of like a that's cool. You can do all kinds of stuff with that.
Yeah. Let's hear it all together one more time.
Yeah. Back to the thinner side. It's actually kind of interesting once you go through and solo each one, you can actually get a sense of what those macros are doing.
Yeah.
'Cause certain things pop out more at you. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Love it.
All right, what else? What else? What else? This is just the heartbeat and that bloodstream. So, there's a lot you can get creative with in this also, but I like that they actually had this in here because it kind of adds another dimension to, you know, what you would maybe traditionally find. And let's see. So okay, we were just in internal. I'm gonna close that. Just it's not in the way. And then let's see what else is interesting. Well, they're all interesting, but try to, consolidate a little bit here. the melee and the weapons, we should probably go into those because at, face value, looking at the name of the series kind of is like, well, what's like actually, what am I going to find in each one that's different? Because sometimes you tend to categorize melee with melee weapons. So here we have both. Let's check it out. So here it's a lot of punches and kicks in the actual melee project itself, which is I think we had, I don't remember, maybe it was I think we had like a combat collection that came out like last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of is again expanding on the theme that was in there with kind of added flavor and added texture of the gore coming into it a little bit more. So let's see, we have punches, kicks, slaps. You even have the slaps in there. And there was something else in here, I thought, but uh, punch, kick, and slap. So soft, medium, hard, kick, slap. Yeah. I actually, that's another kind of point. I think they do a really good job of defining like what is soft, medium, hard. Like
Yeah.
even having that laid out for you is like it gives you a nice roadmap of how like maybe how you should consider defining things in that way. It's yeah, I've never run into one that didn't make sense to me. They all seem to fit the description pretty much to the T. Now let's see. I don't think there's not any of the outwardly facing track macros, but there's probably yeah. So we have some more fun stuff in hang on, get over here. Song. There we go. So there's some things you can play around with inside of the enrage on the individual tracks themselves. So this low energy, make it, you know.
Oh yeah, it's again
So
pulling some of that energy out of it.
yeah, and the thing is with the way that these are, you could very easily, you could start implementing their idea of the effects macro track. You can make your own. You just have to link it up to whatever you see here.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to experiment with.
Yeah, and again, I'll
Yeah.
underline what you were saying about defining the different intensities of these impacts. It's like it's a template for you to follow in your career as a sound designer because there's a well-established um, expectation for these, and even within that, as you were just showing with that knob in Rage, there's variability, and
Yeah.
what that variability brings in an interactive uh, situation is better believability because it lessens the repetition. So being able to create as many variations with different properties and parameters with this kit that is made for exactly the task at hand means that you just have a lot there to help create a believable experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I can never go back to whatever I was doing before. I can't go back to that.
Nice.
Um okay, I just switched over, or we're talking, I switched over to the weapons. All right, so we can get kind of a comparison of what's going on. It's quite a bit of range here. So you have edged and blunt type of weapons, and then you have um different sort of actions associated with each one. So the edge weapons, we have stab, and then just like a hit, like a blunt hit with an edge weapon, I suppose. That's cool. You can hear some metallic sort of stuff going on in that one.
Hmm?
And then here's the large, a little bit more metal type of thing going on. And blunt. So this would be sort of like a, like a mace or something, I imagine. Small, medium, large. And maybe we take a quick look. So we have the main layer. If I can just solo that maybe. there. That's just a yeah, that's a pretty standard hit on its own. So you can take that and run with it if you don't need the other stuff. And then the Gore stands on its own. You could very easily save a version of this project and then just maybe leave in the details layer and then swap out everything on here with like a totally different type of impact device or whatever.
Yeah, well, and that really speaks to the nature of, games, randomization, interactivity. You bounce a dozen splat sounds and a dozen thumpy sounds, and let the audio engine dynamically combine those and randomize those variations on top of each other. And that way you go from, let's say, 12 combined sounds of an impact and its Gore layer to I don't know, 144. I can't really do math. 1,000.
It's
Uh,
more than yeah, it's enough. It's more than enough and then some.
yeah, there we go.
Um yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of this stuff to your point is like a lot of fun to throw into Impactor. It's a good time, good experiments.
Yeah,
And it's all naturally kind of conducive to doing that. You don't have to it kind of all fits where it should.
yeah.
So it really allows you to get the most out of something like Impactor for sure.
And you're
And
talking
what's this?
specifically about Wwise Impactor, which is a
Yes.
plugin that we have out there for folks. You can get it through the Audiokinetic launcher as part of a Wwise installation. It's our cross synthesis plugin that takes the transient of a sound, removes the residual, and turns it into magical code that can be uh, dynamically modulated using game parameters, and really expands on the audiophile content in a way that makes it really dynamic at runtime in a physics implementation. So
Yeah, definitely. I'll run through a few more in here.
cool.
There's some of these edged cut sounds I think were pretty cool, if I remember. Nice little metallic sort of slicing stuff going on. Just the large. And then these slam sounds are pretty cool. That one's really beefy. It's a good one.
Yeah,
Um, cool. I think, yeah, again, there's not in this one, it's not too many macros other than what's probably on those enrage instances.
sure.
But you've got plenty of layers. Pretty easy to just come in and you can even sometimes I'll just open these and look through the actual individual tracks to see like, okay, what material is actually here. It's nice to just give you a quick idea of things sometimes. Back in the here, I'm going to close both these so I get myself confused. I think I just lost you on video, but cool. All right, we did melee, did weapons, went through generic firearms and archery. Check that out. I have some of the stuff from the extreme project in my demo, so I hit on some of that there a good bit as well. So this is another cool, yeah. Well, should we go over soon? Yeah. And so far I've been this one still gets to go into the spaceship. So I don't know if we'll go into the spaceship with sorcery next, but I mean it could, but
Cool.
uh so in here obviously we have these it's going to be a lot of bullet and projectile impacts, so bullets and arrows, and then also buckshot. Real quick, just get a sense of these.
Cool.
buckshot. Actually, I ended up using this one. It was perfect for the device I have in the Unreal. Arrows.
Ooh, yeah.
I like these arrows. They're again, you don't need the splatter. You have some great arrow sounds in here anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, and then this one we do have actually not only a useful macro, but it's a unique idea that maybe they kind of how they approach this. So you have an impact, and then you also have a slider that changes it from like I guess in the sense of like body more towards the head. So you kind of have like a Z axis you can kind of work with in terms of like EQing or manipulating these sounds, if that makes sense. So I think arrows tends to be pretty noticeable with these for sure. So again, these are the arrows one, two. So we have 8 variations for all of these. And right now these are set to ahead. So as I move it lower, you're going to lose some of the higher frequencies. And then the impact, I'll leave it set to the middle for the head body. And the impact is all the way up right now. I move it down. It's kind of shaping the transient a little bit differently, a little
Yeah.
more subdued.
Yeah, it's not just a mix operation where it's shifting volumes. It's doing a lot of different processing, filtering, to give you that perspective change from it impacting closer to your ears to further away. At least that's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing in the representation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to find where the impact is going. Well, let me get up here. Yeah, as you can see, again, so much routing. Someone spent a week doing the routing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, maybe low end, maybe down there, or the whoosh. Let's see. Okay, there is a limiter control in here, but that's oh, can't seem to find. Haven't picked one yet that actually has that the impact. Oh, there we go. There it is. So solo the weight layer. Yes, that's pretty quietly. Turn that up a little
Yep.
bit. So that looks like simply a gain boost, but it's probably going into something. It's probably driving into something else. Sometimes you'll find these driving into distortions or something. But anyway, just again trying to get people excited about Enrage as much as I
Totally.
can.
Yeah.
And back over here, Extreme. Take a quick look, and then we'll just segue into putting something together that you know is representative of what all is going on in here.
Yeah.
So this is extreme, all right? So name should tell you it's gonna be extreme stuff in here. We have skull crushes. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Short one. Lots of nice tech. This is the ASMR sub project right here, I think.
Yeah.
Neck body. That's a big one right
That
there.
was a big one.
And they don't just it's not just all big stuff. There's eyeball pop and teeth pulling. Which this teeth pulling one, actually I use that for so in the level that I have when you're shooting the alien eggs or whatever, this I use this one for when they're kind of when it's moving around after you destroy the nest.
Ooh,
That's
yeah.
kind of a nice little physics layer that you can have and stuff like that.
Cool. And
Which,
in all of these, what I'm hearing is a kind of rhythmic cadence, right? We have a kind of a swoosh and a pop, or and we can see it represented there on the timeline. And I think one of the things that having access to the multi-tracks gives you is that ability to split things up into different layers, carry those layers into Wwise, and then from there you can randomize the timing of those things in order to get generative cadences, right? So it's
yeah,
not always
yeah,
the same sloosh into impact timing for these things, but you can randomize these things in order to get different cadences out of it, and again subvert that variation expectation.
yeah, definitely. It's every variation, we have like this one that looks like we have like six of each. They're all, the variations are very different. They do a good job of making it so that it's not just another one of the same thing. It's like, okay, you could reasonably extract information from each one and do something with.
Yeah.
So, teeth pulling, we did all skull crushes, we did body stuff, eyeball pop. Let's see. What exactly? I'm just curious, like for these smaller ones, what maybe is in here? Grapefruit, more grapefruit squeeze. And what else? I don't know what that is yet. Impact. Some wet napkin or something. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, lots of cool little details in there. Uh, I think in terms of going through the sub projects, I think we've
Okay.
nailed them
Give
pretty
me give me
well.
one more. I need a kind of an impact. It's medium, but with definitely some squishiness to it. I just need one of those here to transition us into the demo.
Cool. Let's cue one up.
Okay, give me
Let's def
give me a count though. I've got a dramatic episode to illustrate to underline with this collection when
right.
you're ready.
We'll do shatter large. I think this
Okay,
one's pretty good.
and
This
give me a countdown. Oh,
oh
okay,
oh
okay. Give
oh.
me a countdown.
All right. I'll just go from three.
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
okay. Do it again. Another variation. Here it comes. Okay, it's good. One more.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I
As
got.
a definitely a shatter. And actually, you can actually see,
Yeah.
nice thing with Reaper, the waveforms. You got these are all the same. It's the same asset
Oh yeah,
technically,
great.
but look at how different they all are.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into that demo project. Let's talk about Unreal
Yeah. Let's
and how it's set up in Wise.
Yeah. So nothing, I mean, everything kind of came together pretty nicely. Nothing too crazy, but we kind of feature, I think, a little bit of everything there's to offer. I was able to kind of incorporate one way or the other. Um, so what do I have? I have some body internal sounds. So I have the heartbeat, bloodstream. Those are kind of doing some ambience type of things on the in the walls of the spacecraft. Um, then we have a buckshot for the little like meatball shooter that I put together.
Cool.
That's actually what I was thinking of when I was setting it up. I was like, this is kind of looks like a meatball.
Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
some breaking sounds for the nests and the eggs, and then um, the best way to get rid of alien eggs is you gotta torch them like in
Oh
the
yeah,
movie. So we had to
absolutely.
put some acid and some fire stuff in there
Makes sense.
as
And
well.
what we're looking at here in the Wise project is the Soundcaster, which is the way that you can audition the behaviors that you've set up over in the hierarchy on the left. You've got all of your variations over there in containers set up with different layers and randomizations. And the Soundcaster gives you that one place to audition those sounds and their behaviors, along with access to the game syncs, the switches that you've set up for materials, as well as the game parameters that you're using on the game side to drive different parts of those playback behaviors.
Yeah, super, super helpful for sure.
Yeah,
So I think, let me see if there's anything interesting I should say about the events in them of themselves. So, I have the teeth pulling, which kind of is acting as a small physics asset for the debris moving around.
got it.
And I have that set, the probability is set pretty low on there just because there's going to be a lot of it. There's some interesting things going on in the blueprint, which I could probably show. But, we just could probably spend a lot of time in there. Breaking sounds, small and large.
Yeah.
Again, everything's pretty well represented here. Other than the melee sounds, I kind of got one of everything in. So it's enough. It's enough chatter. I'll go in and we can actually hear it, see what's going on, uh, and maybe I'll. Okay, so first, before you even get any further, this door is blocked off, so we gotta get through there, and you can hear the blood and the heartbeats, which maybe should have. Let me go back to my mixer. Let's just hear heartbeat. So the way that's set up is I have a heartbeat in a random container, and the start time is staggered. So for each individual game object, they may not all have them. I actually have it set up right now that it's random. So every time you load up the level, it'll just randomly assign them. So it's kind of interesting way of seeing what works and what doesn't work. Bloodstream, there's that by itself. Maybe some stereo.
Yep, and you're doing some spread based on distance, maybe. I definitely hear some positioning, and it's across the stereo field.
Yeah, I think I have a. I think I might have just done as simple as, let's just see. Let's check it out. It's probably on here. Positioning. Yeah, so you have the speaker panning and the 3D spatialization just ever so slightly
Cool.
tuned. So it's kind of getting a little bit more width.
Great.
What else? All right, so let's let me see here. Wait, what do I want to solo? Let's solo the breaking sound. This one's gonna be this is a lot going on, so I'll just I'll kind of ease our way in here.
Okay.
All right, so that's from the chaos physics event. When it breaks, it's triggering those. There's a limit on how many. I think 3 at once can happen, somewhere around there. So
Yep.
not too much overkill.
It's like an on break event that gets sent from Unreal, triggers up to 3 instances of that breaking sound, and yeah, is kind of that initial transient for that event.
Yeah. And then let's see. Extreme. So this already did the large break. Do the shatter, which this one might not be in the mix. We'll see. That's probably not in.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had that one in there to maybe use and I ended up not needing it, but
Sure.
let's do teeth pull. Teeth pull is in here for sure. So you have the shatter and then
oh yeah, that's gross. Oh
moves
yeah.
around a little bit. And then I'll put that with the large break.
Right.
All right.
So again, you've got these
That
different
works pretty
layers here representing different aspects of that physics interaction. The break, the surface impacts. That's great.
Yeah, and then okay, so this wasn't in any of the it wasn't in with the rest of them, but like I said, the I just took the Unreal, like the the first person weapon asset they just give you, and I made it look like a meatball. And it sounds like one too. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's the buckshot actually. So, and then you layer that up with, oop, wrong Wise window. Hey, what's up? Um, let me put that with the rest of the keep messing up my windows here.
Yeah.
All right, so here's like basically everything except for those body internal sounds,
Yep.
and then we haven't gotten to the acid yet, but oh, there's the acid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Burn it with fire.
It's the only way to be sure, right?
That's right.
So, and
Cool.
I'll walk myself back here and let's see. I think I mentioned all of these. Got myself screwed up with the solos here.
Yep.
I'll reload it and then we could just, now we'll hear everything together for what it is.
Perfect.
All right. Yep, good. Need to make these a little bit smaller because you can't really, it's hard to get over that. There, now you can hear the ambience pretty
Ooh,
well.
yeah.
And like I said, every time it could be a little different. Whatever one actually ends up triggering the randomization. So
Yeah, those are great.
What is it set at? It's set. Yeah, so the probability for, oh, that's somehow it has the wrong one selected.
But what's great about this
75.
technique is that it, generates the heartbeats and ambiances differently every time.
Yeah, and then there's some pitch randomization for the blood streams there. And then what else? There's some other cool stuff. These blood streams. Advanced settings. Oh, somehow it's. Hang on. I'm trying to select stuff. Sometimes it acts a little laggy for some reason, but
Sure.
I got. Usually when it's full screen, it'll do that to me. Positioning. Yeah, already. Nothing special going on with positioning there, but the loop is set up randomly. There's a random delay at the beginning, so
Yep.
they that was quickly a problem I realized when I was stacking them all up. It was like, this doesn't sound too real.
Right.
But I'm kind of happy with how it ended up.
Oh yeah.
Let's get rid of these eggs. Pretty good.
Ooh yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on there.
It's beautiful. It's a weird kind of gelatinous physics interaction when you take those eggs off the wall.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot some.
Right. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
Big jello, little jello.
Yeah, that's these are the geometry collection type thing. I kind of been experimenting with that a little bit more recently, so I'm learning about it a bit.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah,
Fantastic
so
illustration.
there's the spaceship
Chase.
with the alien invasion that we just took care of.
Well done. Well done. Oh, that's so great. Well, thanks for taking us through that demo. It really shows off what's in the box with Gore, as well as that hands-on deep dive that we did. A lot of potential. Again, I am imagining all of the different ways people could leverage this collection not just for this fantastic representation of alien infestation that you've given us, but in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was definitely channeling my my inner aliens fan when I was thinking of this though. I was like, like those are my favorite movies. So I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like, let's do something like that.
totally, totally. Cool. Well, for folks still with us here at the end, let's talk about Strata. This is a multi-track collection, as we've been showing. It comes uh, with all of the rendered assets, along with the deep dive individual pieces in that multi-track format in a Reaper project and sub-projects. It comes with a suite of VSTs, including Enrage, our Wwise plugins, and the IEM plugins. These are part of what we use to standardize the way that the collections are delivered. Brings a consistency across all of them. We've got integrations, as Chase mentioned, with SoundMiner, as well as Soundly and Basshead. These are ways that you can use them with sample libraries in your workflow, as well as our Wwise and Reaper integration Rewise that helps you carry the content from these Strata collections to your Wwise project in a way that sets up the behaviors. Chase has got a little screenshot
Throw it.
of
Oh, it went
Rewise
away.
up for us.
You scared it away.
Scared it
There we
away.
go.
Yeah. And with this, you can easily transfer from your Strata collections in Reaper, or ultimately any project in Reaper, to Wwise and your Wwise project. We've added some new partners this year and have even more coming up later. We've added some subscription models, and we have a continuing growing number of collections coming to Strata.
Yeah.
Those subscription models have expanded from the single project to any number of projects, as well as that academic license that we mentioned during the hands-on. Again, if you're a student out there learning sound design, this license was made for you. It gives you access to all of the collections that are currently released, 1 year at $100. An incredible resource to learn more about how professionals are aligning sounds, effects, and some of these deeper controls over sound design as part of all of these collections. So a great way to, continue learning about sound design in context. And you can get it right now, Strata, at the Audiokinetic website, audiokinetic.com. We've got 2 free samples of selected sub-projects from the collections, things like creature movement, vehicles, historical firearms, UI, footsteps, just a ton of stuff that you can go and get right now and start messing around with in Strata. Easy step-by-step instructions on the website. Get signed up for news to hear about when new collections launch. And circle back later this month when we're going to go hands-on with Enrage, the suite of DSP that we've been looking at, that folks developing collections for Strata are employing to really tune and finely tune these sounds. We're going to go deep behind the scenes with some of the folks who are authoring for Strata collections and dig into Enrage. So if you've been following along and are interested in hearing more about Enrage, how it's used, and how the designers themselves are using it across collections, circle back April 23rd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time for a Wise Up on Air hands-on with those folks. And dig back in. We've been doing these hands-on collections for the last 6 months. We have a bunch of great sessions that Chase has deftly navigated, other great demos in Wise and Unreal. We also recently did a getting started with game audio using Wise live stream. So if you're new to interactive audio and need a soft introduction along with some of the resources that Audiokinetic provides to get started with Wise, definitely circle back to that video on our YouTube channel. And we had a great deep dive with some of the team from Baldur's Gate 3, where they talked about mixing with Wise for that game. And man, they told some great contextual stories about design decisions that they made in the mix. Positioning the voice of the dungeon master above the player's head in a spatial audio context. So when you're listening with headphones and spatial audio enabled, the voice comes from above you, and the decision to support the game with that choice is just a great story to hear. So dig back into mixing with Baldur's Gate 3 with Wise, and stay tuned for more on that. So Chase, that
Cool.
ramps us right up to the present moment. Thanks so much for taking us through the Gore collection this month.
Yeah, so it was a fun one. A lot of interesting stuff in there. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I have fun every time. So it's, kind of biased, but
Yeah. Well, your understanding, experience, and output speaks volumes to that statement. So you can tell you're having a great time.
Good.
All right. Well, this has been Wise Up on Air, Hands On with Strata with Chase Steele. I'm Damian Kaspauer, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
All right. Ciao.